How to build a successful business. I've helped a lot of people do it. Started my first at 16 when I was 19. I've helped hundreds all across the country and a few across the sea. Even wrote a book on it, best-selling book. We're going to go through 7 specific steps on what it takes to build a successful business. As entrepreneurs and business owners, we know that if we have a clear plan, anything becomes possible. And if you can have a clear plan, a clear process to create that plan, and a way to create clarity with your partner or spouse, you can drive to amazing heights. All right, so good for you. You're thinking, all right, I want to build a successful business. Hot damn. Well, we're going to go through 7 specific steps, and we cover these same things in my book and on the courses at Aspiring Solopreneur that you can go through. A bunch of videos and everything with it. But the first step is going to be to go through and start with the end in mind. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, so often people decide, oh, I'm going to go start a successful business, or I want to have a business. And they end up getting wrapped around the axle around what they could do, what they should do, what's an opportunity, where they could go, and they're react. But they're not stopping to think, what do I want my life to look like when I have that business? And as a result, the business ends up driving their life, and and a lot of times people end up getting really frustrated and burned out. So where I would suggest is start with the end in mind. Figure out what success looks like for you on a holistic level. And then from there, you can go in and build the business that you want to have. Now, if you want, you can go to that website, aspiringsolopreneur.com. Go through, and there's a tool in there called the balance wheel. You're welcome to take it. Doesn't cost anything. It's free. And it'll give you a full assessment on a holistic level of where you are. And then you can start to define what is the business you're looking to build. In one of my other books, the Life on Your Terms book, we actually go through, and in the example in there, it's a fable, but the young man in the fable ends up deciding that he loves being adventurous, loves living on the road, and decides that he wants to be outside and enjoy things more, and how to build a business that worked for him, where he could literally be a digital nomad and make it work on his terms. Now, not everybody wants that, but it figures out what is important to you. Maybe it's family, maybe it's free time, maybe it's flexibility, maybe it is driving more out income. But figure out what are those primary pieces first, and when you start with the end in mind, it's going to make it easier. Now, the second step in building a successful business is ideally looking at your skill set or areas that you really love, things that you're strong at, and building off of that, not necessarily going out and starting something new. I've worked with people literally who are rocket scientists who said, oh yeah, I want to go start a new business. Like, okay, great, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to start a coffee shop. I'm just like, oh, you guys are killing me. You guys have skill sets that will pay massive through the roof on certain areas, and you want to go do a job that's going to pay you $20 an hour, $30 an hour. So think about what are the areas that you do, and you can list those out. What are my skills? And it can be a variety of things, and maybe it's in workspace. What are the areas of influence and interest that you really love? And start to look at those and see where they cross-coordinate and pollinate, and what aspects of those things do you really love and enjoy. And that's going to help you start to figure out the direction of where you want to go. Because if you're doing something that you're great at and you love, and you're building it into a life that you've built on purpose, your likelihood of success is going to grow exponentially. Now, once you start to figure out roughly what your idea is, I like to call it a half-baked idea. If you can be about 80% of the way there, I'm thinking of doing sort of this type of direction or this service or this product, without ever even doing it, you can go and start talking to others. Now, you can talk to people, the 2 groups that you can talk to. One, you can talk to people who are potential end users, potential clients, and talk to them and say, hey, I would love your feedback. And genuinely be looking for their feedback. Don't try and sell them. Say, I'm considering doing this, and I'm looking at this and this. What are the things that you like and don't like about it? Just specifically asking their feedback. Now, the reason this is important is that we are very, very sensitive in this day and age to people selling us. If somebody senses that you're trying to sell them, man, they will bounce out immediately. But if you go to them and say, hey, I'm looking for some help. I really love your insights and feedback. Would you be willing to do that? Most people really want to help each other. So if you have that approach for potential clients or people that you, to get it, and then say, what do you think? How would you approach this? What do you like about this? What do you not like about this? And they're going to be able to help you mold that last 20% so it starts to fit better. And if you do that with 10 people, I'm guessing at least one of them is going to know somebody that could value it, or they're even going to want it themselves, and they'll lead that conversation. Now, the other area you can talk with others is make sure that you go out to other people who are already doing it. How are people already solving this issue? And go and talk to people. And if you say, well, I don't want to have competition in my neighborhood for this. Okay, internet's a big place. You can go someplace else geographically and talk to people. Say, hey, do you have a few minutes? And ask, this is what I'm looking at doing. It looks like that's what you're doing. Do you mind telling me what's worked and what hasn't? Most entrepreneurs are going to be very, very open and receptive to helping you with this and happy to have the conversation. So the third step is going to be to talk with others. Once you do that, now the next step, once you start saying, it looks like we've got a potential viable product, their viable service or product, great. And I think I'd be fun at this, and this fits who I am, and it would actually work into a lifestyle that I really want to build. You're onto something. The next step is going to be, how do you build a great team of advisors? And it has never, ever been easier or safer to build a team of advisors that you can walk into, that you can trust, and you can do it for almost no fee at all. And we talk a lot about that in the book, on how to build that team of advisors. Remember, as the person who's driving and building the successful business, you're accountable to build it all, but you don't have to do it all. So what I mean by that is, how do you build that team of people around you who can advise you in ways that you can trust? How do you find a great small business accountant, a great small business attorney, a great small business banker, great small business insurance person, maybe a marketing person, maybe somebody for real estate, depending on what your needs are. But when you start to build this team, and again in the book we talk a lot about the right questions asked, how do you interview them, how do you find these people. But when you have this group of people, they're going to be able to actually feed off of you, feed off of each other, and help you become better at what you're doing. Now, most of these people will invest at least an hour of their time on them, no expectations, just to see if you're a potential good fit as a client, because they have their own versions of business development they have to do. How can they be building that? And there's ways, and we have lots of other videos on this channel on how to find a great small business accountant or small business attorney. And once you do that, then it's going to help you drive further and further, and you'll be able to build this team. And as a result, you're going to be able to start actually building out and fleshing out an entire business plan that's going to be rock solid. So once you build this team of advisors and you start fleshing out your business plan, the question comes up to, is this a no-brainer? And what I mean by that is, would you be an idiot not to do this? So I have literally built hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of business plans. Usually I don't do anything with them. It gets me partially down the road and I'm like, wow, this was a good idea, but it wasn't quite great idea. Or it was close, but I need to pivot over here. Or wow, this was a dumb idea. Boy, I just saved hundreds of thousands of dollars by not walking into this. So thank God. I mean, but it helps you go through, and there's questions on like, is this a no-brainer? Is this a no-brainer with your family? Is this a no-brainer with the finances? Is this a no-brainer with how you structure it? And there's so many different tools and ways to make sure that you're clear and ultra safe that you can do this. Some basic ways are, maybe you can start moonlighting. What I mean by that is, keep your existing gig. You've built out your whole business plan, so you know you're going to be successful. It looks solid. And maybe you find a client or two that you can actually start to work with and you start to transition into, so that you start slowly moving forward, so that without any doubt, you're going to win. So the very baseline of this is, if your brother-in-law came to you with this business and with this business plan and says, would you like to invest in my business? And you'd be like, hot damn, I do. This is like a no-brainer. Of course I do. Great. Doesn't happen that often, but you want to make sure that it's that tight. And when it is, make sure that it fits with your lifestyle. If you're good to go, then go ahead and dive in and pull the trigger. If it's a no-brainer, pull the trigger. And when you pull the trigger, make sure that you're very clear on what the structure is and how you're going to be accountable and how you're going to hold yourself accountable. We talk again a lot about that in the book in the first 6 months. How do you make sure that you're very successful as you're driving this? And lastly, make sure you have fun. Don't discount that. If you're going from a job you hate into a business you hate, you're going to be just as miserable. Make sure that it's going to be something that you enjoy doing, and what are those aspects that you do enjoy doing, and celebrate how much fun there is here, and embrace those victories. So The 7 steps, start with the end in mind. Make sure you know where you're going and how to integrate the ideal business into your ideal life. Next, build off some sort of extension of skills. Review the skills you have both professionally and maybe in the fun life or hobbies, and figure out how do we figure out what the right way to integrate those are. Start talking with others, people who potentially could be clients or end users, or people who are already doing it. Learn what you can from them. Next, make sure you build a rock solid team of advisors, people that can help ensure that when you do make this step, you know you're going to be good to go. Review it and say, hey, is this really a no-brainer? Would I be an idiot not to do this? And if so, you're probably on the right direction. When it's time then, pull the trigger. Get ready to get and dive in. Maybe not fully, maybe you step in step by step, but get started. Learn. Don't be afraid of going out and falling down and skinning your knee. And lastly, remember to have fun. So ideally, you found some value in this. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at aspiringsolopreneur.com. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them here. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for investing the time. Keep smiling.